So, okay, Rambam Sefer Misvot, Aseh, positive commandment number Pe Bet, number 82. We're talking about Korbanot. We segued into the Korban of Maaser Behema, then the Bechor, and then we spoke about on the topic of Bechorot, the Mizvah redeeming a human Jewish Bechor, and then we spoke about the Mizvah of redeeming the unpure animal, the Hamor, with a sheep. Now, on that same topic is a new Mizvah Pebet. The Torah, interestingly, gives us an alternative way to fulfill the Mizvah of Peter Hamor, of the Bechor, of the first Hamor, first donkey to leave the womb of its mother, besides redeeming it with a sheep. And what is that option? It is la'arof Peter Hamor, which is to break its neck. V'hu omro, and the pasuk tells us the source Yitbarach, v'im lo tifdeh va'arafto. It's an interesting type of mizvah that it's really unique in that the mizvah says if you don't do it one way, you can do it another way. You don't redeem, you can break it. Now, the Rambam is going to give another self-challenge. If one may try to ask and challenge me and say, why did you count the redeeming and the breaking of the neck of the Hamor, of the Bechor, two different Misvot and not one? And the breaking of the neck can be just one of the details of the Misvah of the Peter Hamor. It's one of the principles he established, that details of a Misvah are not counted as an independent Misvah. So why am I counting the Aravto, breaking of the neck, as an independent Misvah? He first says that Hashem has shown us in the Pesukim in the Torah, which we need to be reading the Pesukim to demonstrate this, but something called the Hekesh, which is a comparison of like topics within a Pasuk or two juxtaposed Pesukim. But that would do the trick, Lule Mashemasinu Larabotenu, if not that we also have what Hakamim taught us, Lashon Yore Alze Hayotam Shetem Misvot. Hakamim actually taught us that there's another reason to count this as two Misvot. V'hu Omro Mizvat Pediyah Kodemet leMizvat Arifa, Mizvat Yibum Kodemet leMizvat Halisa. The Hakamim have a saying in Halakha from which we could learn that these are two separate mitzvot. The saying is this: the mitzvah of redeeming precedes the mitzvah of breaking of the neck, which means that it isn't looked at as an equal choice. Really, preferably, one should redeem the hamor with the sheep, and if you can't, then break its neck. And also, in the same sentence, Hakamim tell us, mitzvah of yibum is when one passes away without a child, that his brother has a mizvah to marry his widow so that the child could be on the name of the deceased brother. But that's kodemet the mizvat halisa. Halisa, if the brother doesn't want to perform yibum, then there's a ceremony which releases him from that obligation called halisa. But the Hakamim tell us that really it isn't one or the other. Yibum is preferable. If you don't perform Yibum, then Halisa. So the Rambam says from that sentence of Hakamim, that halakhic statement, you could learn, just like the woman who is the widow, the Yibama, you can perform either on her. And they're both Misvot. Hakamim tell us one precedes the other, but the main thing is that the Hakamim call them each a mizvah, right? They're both a separate mizvah. Can Peter Hamor Ra'ui or Pidia or Arifa, so too, each one of those, which is an option to do with the Hamor, either redeeming or breaking of the neck, just like the Yibum, it's being compared in the same sentence, the Yibum and Halisa to Misvot, so are redeeming and breaking of the neck. So that's the Rambam's proof from that sentence of Hachamim that there's two separate Misvot. Mizvah Pei Gimel number 83. Hisha Sivanu lahabit kol hakorbanot hamutalim alenu barekel rishon shifga banu. Bishlosha rekalim. We have a mizvah, an obligation, for any korban that is incumbent upon us to bring. In other words, we have a personal obligation to bring a korban, whether it's a sin offering korban, whether it's a neder and dava, vow or pledge that we made. We have to bring it at the first regel of the first of the three regalim that we chanced upon. Ad shelo ya'avod echad mishlosha regalim, ela shekevar hikriv kol echad mimenu kol korban shu hayav, wherein a holiday of the three regalim, Pesach, Shavuot, or Sukkot, will not one of those holidays will ever pass where any of us have not brought all of the personal obligatory korbanot that we have to bring. Meaning, when you have a korban obligation upon you, it's a misvat aseh to bring it by the first regel that meets you on the calendar. That can mean a week later. That can mean within 6 months you have to give it, depending on when you became obligated in that korban and where you are on the calendar. So that is a misvat aseh. What's the source? V'hu omro yit'aleh ubata shama v'habetem shama. Pasuk says, Parashat Re'eh, you'll come there and you'll bring there. V'anyan zeh hasivui sheyomar. What this command is trying to say, kishetabo shama v'hu bechol regel m'shlosha regalim. When you come there, that is Israel, which means, of course, we already know you have to come there, and all the three regalim. Hayavat hamlavi kol korban shalecha. So the Torah is saying v'hebetem shama. When you come there, you must bring, meaning bring whatever is upon you to bring when you get there. Meaning the next upcoming regel that chances upon you when you have an obligation of a korban to bring. V'lashon Sefer, Hachamim tell us in the Midrash, Ubata shama v'habetem shama lama ne'emar. Sefer asked rhetorically, why does the pasuk say this double term? You'll come there and you'll bring there. The kov'am choba sheyebiem beregel rishon shepaga'a bo, to make it obligatory upon us to bring a korban on the first of the three regalim that greets us. B'sham ne'emar eno aver alav mishum bal te'ached ad she'abru alav shlosha regalim ragle kol hashana kula. And there in the same midrash, we're told that you're not violating a mizvat lo ta'aseh called bal te'ached, which means bringing your korban late, until three regalim pass. Kilomar ad she'abru alav shlosha regalim v'lo hebi as avar alav. In other words, that very same korban A is an obligation upon you to bring. It's a mizvat aseh, it's a positive commandment. Let's say you're in Adar, to bring it by Pesach, the first regel, but you're not violating the mizvat lo ta'aseh, a bal ta'ached, of bringing your korban late, unless Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot would pass. Then you're violating also the negative commandment. Ve'ulam, but you're still not protected from transgressing on the positive commandment. So wherever you are on the calendar and you have a korban that you're obligated to bring, you have a positive commandment obligation to bring it at the next regel. But if you don't fulfill that, you still didn't transgress on the negative commandment until three regalim from where you are on the calendar pass and you still didn't bring it. ובגמרא ראש השנה, רבי מאיר אומר, כיוון שעבר עליו רגל אחד עובד בבעלתה אחר. So in the Gemara Rosh Hashanah, Rabbi Meir in the Baraita says that actually his opinion is if even one regel of the 3 regalim pass, you're violating the negative commandment of bringing it late. Now it happens to be there are 4 opinions in that Gemara over there. The Rambam is not trying to get into the discussion. He's bringing this for a reason, which I'll tell you right now. So Rabbi Meir's opinion is even one regel, you're also violating the negative of not bringing it late. V'ne'emar sham, my ta'amad Rabbi Meir. The Gemara asks, what's his reason? And they answered, Tichtiv, ubata shama v'habetem shama. Amar hamara ki atit aiter. Because the pasuk says, come there and bring there. So that's trying to say, when you come, you must bring. Meaning, even to be counted as late for not bringing, if you don't bring at the next available regel. But Hachamim would respond to the Rabbi Meir. Hachamim who say that only if you miss 3 regalim do you violate the lateness negative command. They'd respond to the Rabbi Meir and say, no, that pasuk that says you must bring when you come, you must bring. That's only for the positive commandments. So now you see from this Gemara, Shama she'amar ubatem shama vehebetem shama mizvat azeh. Now you see the word Shama that it says, when you go there, you shall bring there. That's for the positive commandment. Going to Hachamim, who we follow. That means every single regel, whatever you're obligated to God in terms of korban offering, you must bring. Ben uben minei korbanot kulam, uben damim, uben arachim, v'haramim, v'hekdeshot, v'lechev shah pe'ah. You see, that means all your obligations, whether it's korban offering, whether it's pledges that you made based on value, whether if you transformed something, herem, in itself to kodesh, whether hekdesh, which means you pledge the value of something, whether the things that you have to leave in the field for the poor, you see, Rosho, I think you say, Rashi, Shepagabo Misvat Aseh. All of them are now included. He's broadening this Misvat Aseh, to include other obligations that you have to Hashem. You have to bring them within the first regel that chances upon you, besides just korbanot, other pledges that you made, or other of the certain obligations of the land, like he said, the leket shecha upe'ah. Kemo shehit pa'er b'gemara Rosh Hashanah, like it says in the Gemara. All right, let's try to squeeze in another Misvot, since we got a few extra minutes today. Misvot Pedalad number 84. We have a Misvah. Hashem commanded us to bring all the korbanot to the Bet HaMikdash. In other words, when you bring an obligatory korban, besides the positive commandment of bringing that korban as per the proper protocol of offering it, besides the positive commandment of fulfilling your own personal obligation, whatever you were obligated to God to bring, you're also fulfilling another positive commandment, and that is bringing it to the proper location, i.e. the Bet HaMikdash. Source is Sham ta'aleh olotecha v'sham ta'aseh. There you shall bring, it says your korban olah, there you shall offer it. Uba'abu sherasu l'kayem ha'azara mehakriv shum korban v'kol ha'korbanot ba'hus. And because Hachamim wanted to show the violation of not offering any korban outside the Bet HaMikdash, they brought a proof for that violation from a different pasuk, which is pen, lest to you, a warning. lest you bring your korban olah somewhere else. So Amru b'Sefer, the Midrash noticed, Eli ela olah, sha'ar kodashim minayim. So we are speaking both a positive and negative commandment for bringing the korban to the Bet HaMikdash, only specifically the pasuk, at least from the pasuk's standpoint, a korban olah. How do you know that this, both the aseh and the violation of the lo ta'aseh, applies to other korbanot? Tamud lomar v'sham ta'aseh kol asher anochi mesavecha. It says in the pasuk, and there, the continuation of the pasuk, and there you shall offer all of that which I command you. That seems to include other korbanot. V'adayin ani omer olah be'aseh v'lo ta'aseh b'shar kodashim minayim. So still, says the Midrash, I can claim, fine, you got me on the positive commandment. The Misvot aseh includes not only the korban olah, but other korbanot as well. Because it says in the pasuk, sham ta'aseh, there you shall do. But how do I know that in terms of the violation of bringing a korban outside the Bet HaMikdash applies not just to a korban olah, but to other korbanot as well? Tamud lomar v'sham ta'aseh. So that's an inclusive, superfluous terminology, and there you shall offer. As I'll expound upon more when we talk about the Misvot lo ta'aseh, that teaches us also the negative commanded violation of any korban offered outside the Bet HaMikdash. Ve'anyan omram olah be'aseh v'lo ta'aseh sheyeh mi sheyakrib olah b'chus over al aseh v'lo ta'aseh. So that's what they meant when they said a korban olah, you can violate, you can fulfill an aseh or violate a lo ta'aseh, meaning if you were to offer a korban olah, for instance, outside the Bet HaMikdash, some local altar that you constructed or someone else has, so A, you're not fulfilling a positive, and B, you're violating a negative. Omnam lo ta'aseh hu omro pen ta'aleh olotecha. But the pasuk, the two different pasukim, lo ta'aseh is pen ta'aleh, lest you, meaning don't offer your olah outside. V'amizvat aseh hu amaro v'sham ta'aleh. Right, and the positive commandment is the pasuk that he mentioned before, and there you shall bring to the Bet HaMikdash. Ushar kodashim lo hayu ela ba'aseh. And what you get from all this is that other kadashim besides the olah, you would only have an aseh, kilomar amaro v'sham ta'aseh levad. In other words, there's definitely a negative commandment violation for bringing any other of the korbanot outside the Bet HaMikdash. But a positive commandment we're concluding here is only for the korban olah. And what happens is that all of the other korbanot that you bring outside the Bet HaMikdash, you're transgressing a Misvat lo ta'aseh, which is inevitably attached to Misvat aseh. And that's what happens. There's a simultaneous aseh and lo ta'aseh that one is both fulfilling and violating. You can't separate that. So the Gemara explains that the punishment when you violate the aseh, but then also automatically when you fulfill the aseh and automatically violate the lo ta'aseh is karet, very serious for bringing a korban outside the Bet HaMikdash, of course, intentionally. From all that we've said, we can conclude when it says v'sham ta'aseh, it's definitely a positive commandment, and this is worthy to count it as positive commandment number 84, bringing your korbanot to the Bet HaMikdash. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.